Hello, 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 world. How's everybody? This is your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I have my special guest back again, Lily Bell, Beneath the Crust, which is her YouTube channel. And please subscribe, share. We're going to talk about Miss Crockett, the Congresswoman from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, because she has a lot to say. But we're going to start off with uh, Ukraine, what she has to say and her interest in Ukraine. And then we're going to give our perspective on what we think her interest should be more about. So, with that said, thank you for coming aboard again, Lily Bell. I love having you on my show. So, for those who may be new listeners, give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Well, once again, thank you. I enjoy being on this show. I like sharing and like listening. You have a lot of good thought provoking ideas and stuff. So, as we said, I'm Lily Bear. I'm from Beneath the Crust, Lily Bear dash Beneath the Crust 2023. I talk about what you're afraid to even think about. So come on and let's keep on churning to the buttercup.
Sounds good. And she goes beneath the crust. But before we get into this, we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett really, really standing up for Ukraine and who started the war, Ukraine or Russia. So let's share a little clip first and we'll see what's going on here. And we're going to talk a little bit about Miss Jasmine. So give us a moment here. Here we go.
It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Yo, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem. This is the problem. That is not infringing upon free speech.
Will the gentlelady yield?
I will yield to the right.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett.
Okay, let's stop here. And this came about because we happen to be talking about what was going on with Jasmine Crockett. She's very outspoken. And again, I'm Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Please share this video, give your comments, give it a thumbs up, and give it a like. And we just want to hear what you have to say because I live in Texas sometimes. I live in California sometimes. And I have my special guests, as I introduced you to at first, Lily Bell from her own podcast, Beneath the Crust, coming over to share with me and my audience. And I thank all of my supporters. But Jasmine Crockett seems to be one of the most outspoken in the Democratic Party. And recently, she just kind of recently came on the scene. And I hadn't really done anything about any podcast or any engagement as to Jasmine Crockett. And she is very outspoken and appears to be staying in hot water about whatever she speaks about. And the reason, the latest being the Hot Wheels comment that she made. But we're going to focus more on this Ukraine situation and what she had to say and what our perspective is. Perhaps maybe she's going in the wrong direction on her speaking points and all of her talking points. So that's one of the main things we want to discuss about Jasmine Crockett. She's, as far as I'm concerned, she is a very smart woman, and I have no issues with anybody speaking out and speaking up about what their thoughts are. And perhaps we need more Democrats to speak up and speak out. But I want to ask you, Lily Bell, what direction do you think Miss Crockett should be going in? Should she be focusing on foreign countries such as Ukraine and what's going on over there, and what Governor Abbott is doing here, even though she is a congresswoman from Texas? Or should she be more focused on policies and the Black causes? What are your thoughts?
Well, I definitely agree with you when you were saying how she's very intelligent. She's outspoken. I think that some of that outspokenness needs to be redirected now. But this video you played with her talking about Ukraine, it seemed like to me she's trying to avoid a world war or something, because she was specifically speaking about how with Trump saying that Ukraine invaded Russia, now it takes everything in a different direction. So from that standpoint, I understand that. But overall, she seems to be so focused on Ukraine and issues like that, when I feel like she should be more focused on issues that's concerning us here in the United States. And because with Ukraine specifically, you can go look it up, the videos and everything. They show that they're very anti-Black. So I don't think our congressperson should be spending so much time and energy on them. What about all these issues facing us over here? So I think that's what she needs to be focusing on.
I totally agree with you, because we have a lot of issues, and she is, I believe, the congresswoman that represents Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. And she's not representing the part of Texas that I live in, but Dallas. And I don't know what her ethnic constituents consist of, but if it's in Dallas, it has to be Blacks, Hispanics, whites. It's a combination. And I don't know whether it would be more of one ethnicity than another, because I haven't looked up those statistics on what her constituents' ethnicity or ethnic makeup is. However, I have not heard Jasmine Crockett, and this is one of the problems that I have with her, is that I don't hear her focusing on putting forth any policies that will impact us over here in America, particularly Black folks. And her being a Black woman and knowing the plight of Black people, we need more Democrats to stand up and not just give words and no action. And I hear her talking, and she is a lawyer. I know she's a very intelligent. I can tell there are some people out here, even Black people, that are calling her an idiot and calling her different names. I'm not going to call her any names, because I do respect her standing up and speaking out. However, I'm wondering, where are the policies that she's putting forth, particularly some policies for Black people? And some of these politicians act like they are afraid to speak up for Black people, but they're not afraid to speak up for other ethnic groups. They're not afraid to speak up for LGBTQ. So what's wrong with you? Particularly, I'm talking to Democrats now, because we know that the Democratic Party now, they're in the minority, not the majority. However, they've had the majority for a long time. Many times they've had the majorities in terms of the executive and the legislative branches. But what have they done? Because if they had done so much for Black people, why are we still out here fighting for justice? And with that said, elaborate some on that, Lily Bell.
earlier we had been talking about how so many times we feel like if we just talk, we're doing something. We don't have no course of action as long as we address these issues. And this is one of the reasons why the same stuff that we were fighting in 1900, we're fighting in 2025 because of like you're saying, like with Jasmine Crockett, for instance. With her boldness, she's bold. With her boldness and her mindset and her logic and stuff, man, she could create some plans and everything and present them. And if they get rejected, present them again and keep presenting them because until we get a turnaround there, because eventually we're going to get a turnaround. And I want to just say this, I don't know if it's a side note or does it fit right in with what we're saying. We got to stop this business about well, let me back up to and make this comment first about people saying different things about Representative Crockett. She's stupid and all that. See, to me, that's an ignorant person. See, so many of us, we can't separate our personal emotion and feelings from issues. You see, because anybody who says that woman, Miss Crockett, is stupid, something is wrong with it. Something, you see, but if we can ever learn to separate our personal feelings, so evidently this person doesn't like what she's saying. So instead of being able to, it's called ad hominem. That's an ad hominem is when you, instead of attacking issues, you attack the person. And if we're going to move forward, we got to get out of that. I don't agree with Miss Crockett. I don't agree with some of the stuff she says. I think her focus should be more on us instead of Ukraine and stuff. But in no way can I sit here and say this woman is not intelligent. So, and that was one of the things I want to say. We got to get out of that. And the second thing I was going to say is when she's presenting stuff, what I would like to see her do, and if you watch this show, Miss Crockett, first of all, I want to thank you. Thank you for being outspoken and stuff. But focus more on us. What's going to benefit us more? Not focusing on people who have said without a shadow of a doubt. You can't even say you misunderstood them because they said it directly. They don't like us. When they first started this war, excuse me, when we first started this war, Black people couldn't even use transportation to exit Ukraine. A sister had to have her baby on the sidewalk because they wouldn't let her board the transportation, and they had to walk miles and miles. And when they get to the border of other countries, they would turn them back. And my last thing I'm saying, I'm going to yield. And you had Black people, and this is our downfall. You had Black people volunteering to go fight for them, and then they were being schooled and said, when you get over there, now they're going to call you the N-word, but you just got to educate them. Why would anybody who love themselves and respect themselves want to go and fight for somebody who hate their guts? I don't understand that. So that's what I would say to Ms. Crockett. Don't lose your boldness now. Keep your boldness. Keep being outspoken, but redirect what you're outspoken on. I yield.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Redirect what you're outspoken on, as well as perhaps term it or say it maybe in a different fashion or manner that is more beneficial to Black people. Because everybody, charity starts at home. That's how I feel. And you are a Black woman, you're in Congress. Why aren't you representing and creating some policies? And I say that to the Congressional Black Caucus as well, because I believe the Congressional Black Caucus includes everybody in their mission. Other caucuses are not including everybody in their missions. They're more concerned about their own. And that's what we should be more concerned about. Our primary charity starts at home. And it's not that you're not concerned about other people in the United States. However, We didn't start this divisiveness in the United States.
That's right. That's right.
And since we didn't start it, we need to focus on us and elevating us, because we know when this divisiveness started as well. And everybody knows that. And it has nothing to do with victims. Victim this and victim that. I hear people saying, oh, Black people are always being a victim. No, we're not being a victim. We're just stating facts on what goes on, all the injustices that go on in this country against Black people. And to Jasmine Crockett and any Black person in Congress, why not stand up for what's going on with the injustices of Black people? And like what you said, Lily Bear, I've heard all of that too, how Ukrainian people have treated Black people that were over there. And we're supposed to go and fight. What did Muhammad Ali say when he opposed going to fight? He stood up for what he believed in, going over to fight in the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to do. We got to start standing up for our own first. And I know Jasmine Crockett has said some things about Black people, but I mean, talk is cheap. What about putting forth some policies that will economically uplift Black folks? That's what I'm looking for from Jasmine Crockett and all the other Black legislators. Not just her, but all of the other Black legislators. That's what I'm looking for. And we need to start paying attention and making these politicians accountable, not just giving lip service, but put forward some policies. And we know when people were talking about her saying, I wanted to say this, making that statement about Hot Wheels, and I'm not going to show it because if you've been over the internet, you've seen it multiple times over and over and over, where even the Attorney General was talking something about prosecution and all of that, and something about not going back to January 6th. Well, we go back a lot when we want to go back. So why not go back? Why not go back? Because you're trying to persecute this Black woman for speaking out from what I have heard allegedly, and I'm not from Texas, but I live in Texas. I pay property taxes here in Texas. And allegedly, from what I have heard, Hot Wheels was a term of endearment to Governor Abbott. And I don't have anything against Governor Abbott. Personally, I don't. And I don't condone making fun of anybody that has a handicap. However, Congress is a mess. One congressperson stood up and called President Obama, you lie. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is always out there saying something inappropriate for a congresswoman to be saying. So if you're going to point fingers at everybody that's doing inappropriate stuff as legislators. In fact, they are a disgrace at times, many of them. So if you're going to start pointing fingers and start persecuting and prosecuting, do it the righteous way. Because I'm a fair-minded person. And I'm just sick and tired of these what do you call it? Not substandard. I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of it right now, but hopefully it'll come to me before we end this, and it's not going to be long. But we need to be fair about all of this stuff and stop just pointing fingers at Black people when they say something inappropriate, because it's all inappropriate. And the Republicans and the Democrats, both, because I call them one snake with two heads, one painted red and one painted blue. And go ahead, Lily Bell.
Well, Donald Trump even made fun of people, the guy that was in the wheelchair. I mean, he even made some kind of movement with his body. But one thing I want to say when you were saying about victim, let me just say this to anybody who want to say we playing victim or whatever. We're not victims, we're victors. We are victors, we're not victims. Don't get it twisted, baby. And
that's right.
was going to say about we're going to fight for Ukraine in different places. And when you mentioned about other groups, how when they're taking a stand, they take a stand for themselves. For some reason, many of us as Black people seem like unless we attach ourselves to somebody else, we don't feel like we're worth anything. We got to get out of that. We got to realize we are worthy of something. But in order for me to feel worthy, I got to attach myself to somebody else. That seemed to be one of the things seem like many of us feel like. Because you're right, you don't see nobody else fighting everybody else's battle except us. We will go, I don't care. And a lot of has come from conditioning. A lot of, and when I say conditioning, I mean a lot of time in their homes and stuff, because our parents, some of us, them taught us in a way that they thought was right, but it was really hindering us when they would tell you stuff like, well, no matter what anybody do to you, you just gotta love them and just keep on doing whatever, do what you know you can do to help them. You see what I'm saying? We were taught to help these people who are fighting against us. And I think that's one of the hindrances and stuff for us. We have to unlearn or redirect. Unlearn and redirect. I you.
That's true. We really do. We are, seems to be the most compassionate ethnic group because we always want to fight not just our battle, but everybody else's battle. And everybody else is not fighting our battles. And we are the only persons in this country that was held in chattel slavery over 200 years against all the atrocities against our ancestors, which is utterly ridiculous. And the debt is owed to the heirs. We are heirs. Heirs are supposed to receive the benefits of their ancestors' labor.
That's right.
Or that's how it goes. But it seems when it comes to reparations for Black people, they don't understand this. So Jasmine Crockett, why aren't you out there writing some policies and some bills about reparations? And we need to stop all this foolishness about studies. How many studies do you need to prove that Black people were enslaved in this country and all these atrocities that were committed against the African people that were brought over here against their will? And some people are saying, oh, well, they were sold. So what? That didn't mean you have to buy it. You can go to the grocery store and you see everything in the store. Do you have to buy it all? No, you don't. So it was evil on the parts of the people that went over to Africa and bought people. That's evil, and brought them over here to work. So I'd like to see our legislators, the Black ones particularly, stop giving lip service, Jasmine, and write some policies and some bills that's going to benefit our people. Now, that's my spiel about this, because I'm not concerned about Ukraine. Charity starts at home. I'm concerned about my people here that's struggling and have been struggling for centuries. That's my primary concern. And that's not to say I'm not concerned about America as a whole, because I live here. So go ahead, Lily Bell. What do you have to say about that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not concerned about Ukraine either, but I am concerned if false information is being spread about Ukraine, that's going to bring us into a war. That's my only concern and stuff, because like you said, charity begins at home. Why would I be over someplace else trying to fight for somebody else to have what I don't even have in my own country? That's just like with Iraq. I remember when they went to Iraq, you had Black people saying they're going to volunteer to go to Iraq because those children over there need a good education. They need this. That's what, wait a minute. If you want to fight for a quality education, fight right here. So our children can have a quality education. So that's my concern is, why do we feel like and volunteer to go places to fight for other people when we won't even fight for ourselves over here? When you got grandmas, little old ladies and stuff scared to even walk to the store in their neighborhoods and stuff. But you talking about going someplace else? to make sure, and you trying to liberate Ukraine, liberate us then. If you're the great liberator, liberate us.
Right.
And then maybe you can talk about going someplace else. I'm gonna give you an example, and then that's like if you had a house full of children. I got a house full of children. You only have just enough food to feed your house full of children. But then I'm gonna tell you my children are hungry, so you take all your food out your house and give it to me to take to my house. And now your children are starving to death. That's the mentality we tend to have when it comes to these other people. We just take all our food out of our house and give it to everybody else. In the meantime, we're starving to death. I yield.
That's right. That's a good analogy too, because why would you do that when charity
Yeah.
starts at home? It
Mhm.
does not make sense. And that's what we have to start recognizing and realizing. And that was one of the things that Muhammad Ali spoke about, him not going to Vietnam. And then, too, the other situation is the vets. When you go to to not just necessarily Vietnam, but when you go to war and you come back home, Black people went to war in this country and come back home, and what do we get our vets for going to war? The ones that survive it and not killed in the war. When they come back, they got to go through hell. It's ridiculous. Our Black men that go to war and the Black women who have gone over in during the war era doing stuff like that recent picture they had on there was something about the eight, how these Black women were put down and they delivered mail. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I can't remember the
Yeah,
name of it.
it's Tyler Perry put it out. I can't remember the name. Let me look it up right quick while we're talking.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know Tyler Perry put it out.
absolutely. And we are
So
the
go ahead.
most discriminated people in the world, not just here in America. And yeah, look that one up and tell us because I watched it and I can't remember the stars in it either right now. But that's a prime example. We need policies, Jasmine, and by no means should we be calling this woman an idiot or stupid because she made some remarks that were inappropriate from my perspective but from what I understand, that word, like I said, him being Hot Wheels was long before she made the statement. Other people they said was calling him Hot Wheels, our governor. And I don't believe in making fun of anybody that has a disability, but hearing it come from your president, are you going to prosecute him? And he already has enough convictions because he was doing something like this, making fun of people. I don't remember exactly, but when and go look it up, you will see your own president, your sitting president. I don't know whether he was a sitting president at the time he was making fun of somebody, and plus he calls people names all the time. And this is your president.
All the
Like I
time.
said, it's this whole situation here in America is a mess and it's so divisive. But seems like when Black people say something, oh, it's just taken where you supposed to go to prison for it. And that is utterly ridiculous from my perspective because Congress itself is a hot mess. They say
It
all
is.
kind of stuff in Congress, all kinds. They even be ready to fight some of them in Congress. So the stuff they throw back and forth between each other, and they get away with it, particularly if it's a Republican. And the Democrats sometimes they act like they are afraid to stand up and speak out. So with that said, we're not going to make this podcast long, but we just wanted to go in and talk about particularly Jasmine Crockett in the Ukraine, and I just wanted to say a little bit about the Hot Wheels situation that's causing Jasmine Crockett to be in so-called hot water. And I'm not a legal expert, I'm not an attorney. However, if you're going to prosecute one, you need to prosecute all of them that have done. And
Yeah.
President Trump has even would give an amnesty, I believe that's what you call it, to these January 6 people. So what's wrong with going back? They go back when they want to go back and
That's,
talk
you
about
know what?
stuff.
That's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about that, but that's right. He went back. He sure did. Oh, the movie's called The 688.
You're right. That's it. The 6888. If you haven't seen that movie, watch it because our veterans go to war. And since we're talking about Ukraine, I mean, Lily Bell has brought it out how Black people were treated in Ukraine. But yet, you're supposed to go to war and defend. And Jasmine Crockett is talking about who started the war. I mean, whoever started it, Russia or Ukraine. To me, we have, as Black people, we have bigger fish to fry over here in this country. And our veterans, since it's a war going on, they come back here and they don't, it's particularly Black veterans, they're discriminated against, can't even buy houses. They did housing and gave the white folks, and you can go and look this up, opportunities to buy houses with nothing down initially. And I don't think that privilege was given to Black people until later. And if I'm mistaken, correct me on it. But it's just so much
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
racism and prejudice in this country until it's pathetic. And until all this racism, if it ever ends, in which it appears that it never will, because we got too many hateful, evil people. If we were to treat people the way we want to be treated, we wouldn't have all this chaos in America, which is a hot mess right now. The whole country is a hot mess. So with that said, we'll get some final thoughts from Lily Bell, and we'll close out for this particular episode.
Well, what I was gonna say as far as like racism would never end. And see, my thing is, I don't care if racism never end. What I'm concerned about is how we as Black people respond to racism and allow racism to control us and stuff. Because if we would take a stand against stuff, you think about that. If we would take a stand against something, you can't change the way people feel. You can't legislate how people are going to feel. I don't care how many laws you pass, but you can stop people from running up on you. You can stop people from discriminating. And you can stop this thing about, give an example, then I'll make my final thought. Like this guy on the job, and he kept getting overlooked for his job. And he would grumble and complain to, look, if you don't, I don't want to hear you complain if you're not going to say anything, but that's all right. I'm gonna just let God handle it. But if you're just gonna let God handle it, then what are you talking about it for? You see what I'm saying? Jesus was not, and I'm not trying to make this about religion. I'm just using it as an example. So, because that's what a lot of Black people will say. You don't see nowhere in the scriptures where Jesus was weak. Jesus was a strong person. Jesus took a stand even to the point of dying. So those of you who are saying that you're Christian, then stand up then. God, you said that scripture, what you said in James.
2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah. So with that, go ahead and take us home.
That's right. God has not given us the spirit, as 2 Timothy 1:7, the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And we need to start exercising that power and standing up for what we believe
Yeah.
in. And it's a way to do it, however. And again, I'd like to say I don't condone anybody making fun of anybody. And I know oftentimes us as Black people, we get out here and we talk about one another like it's no end to today or tomorrow. And that's something, instead of uplifting, we put each other down so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
And there's a reason for some of these inappropriate behaviors. It's a root cause for it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us won't even go to counseling. We need to go to counseling because we have been generationally traumatized because of all the injustices against leverage against us as Black people in this country. And that by no means that we are calling ourselves victims. We are victors
There
Anybody
you
that
go.
has gone through all, and you said it, Lily Bell, we're victors. Anybody that has gone through all of the atrocities in America from slavery on up to today, 2025, we have to be victors. Otherwise, all of us would be somewhere probably locked up in an asylum, crazy as a Betsy bug, as they say. So we're not victims, we are victors. Now, we have a lot of injustices and a lot of behaviors that we need to correct as Black people. However, that does not excuse the injustices that go on in this country against Black people, because it's a lot. And I'm 74 and I know what I have gone through: job discrimination, housing discrimination, medical discrimination, you name it, all of the above. I have experienced it. And it's not just a one off, this is systematic against Black people. And I'm not afraid to say it. I said it, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. And again, I'm
Uh-huh.
Louise Hicks, and I thank Lily Bell, who has her own YouTube channel, Beneath the Crust, for coming on this podcast. And we frequently do or have conversations about what's going on, because a lot of mature-minded Black people are afraid to speak up and speak out. And I know if you're my age, you've gone through it too. And
Hmm.
if you're 24, 25, you've gone through it,
Yeah,
because it does not stop. Age has no bearing on the injustices that have gone on in America for centuries, over 200 years of slavery, then the Jim Crow, and segregation still exists. And don't y'all forget that, okay? It exists.
exactly.
It
Exactly.
never ended. So don't forget that. And stop worrying about what President Trump is doing, because it's more impactful on white people than it is on us, because we
Hmm.
know what time it is and we know how to navigate ourselves through this system of systemic racism. We know what to do and how to do it. And some of us, we have an issue that we need to correct.
Hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So, any last words, Lily Bell? And we're going to close this segment out.
Well, just remember, you can't control how people feel about you, but you can control how people treat you.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly, because you can't regulate a person's heart because you're
That's
not
right.
inside of them. You can't regulate anybody's heart. If they want to be hateful, they don't want to be bothered with you, let them go. Who
That's
cares?
right.
You don't go around worrying about what these people think. I know I don't,
Me
because
neither.
I'm about elevating my family, legacy, and generational wealth. And that's what we need to be concerned about as Black folks, and participating with one another, loving one another, unifying, building together. Those are the things that we should be focusing on. Investments, leaving our children something, helping them to be better people, which will help to make the world a better place to live in. That should
Amen.
be what we should be focused on. So, with that said, thanks again, Lily Bell. And
Thank you.
Miss Jasmine Crockett, since we were talking, I admire you speaking up and speaking out.
Yes.
However, I'm hoping that you will look at some policies that will assist and help economically in the Black communities, because all of this stuff about Ukraine and talking about the governor and all of that, that's not going to help us, uplift us, not at all. So rethink what we're saying, because you are an intelligent woman. I won't
Very
take that
much
away
so.
from you, even though some people are saying this and that and the other. We ignore the stuff that is irrelevant to our cause as Black folks here in America. And with that said, as always, I always tell you where your power lies. Your
Yes,
power
ma'am.
lies within you. So let it loose, because your destiny is your command. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again, Lily Bell. Go
Thank
beneath
you.
the crust now, y'all, and watch out for Miss Lily Bell.
All right.